So imagine this. You and your significant other are leaving a wedding that you just attended, and you're going to stay at your family vacation home. This place is out in the middle of nowhere. No one or anything around for miles. So you're at this house, it's the middle of the night, and you hear a knock at the door. Your first thought is, who could this be? We haven't seen anyone since we've been here, and why is anyone knocking at this time of night? You answer the door and it's a woman.
Hi,
Hello?
is Tamara here?
No. No, you got the wrong house.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
The Strangers. You may remember this 2008 home invasion horror film. It came out to mixed reviews, but I remember liking it when I first watched it. So today I want to go back and give 2008's The Strangers another chance and see what I think about it today, but not just the first one. There's a sequel that came out in 2018, The Strangers Prey at Night. I've never seen this movie. I don't know why you'd make a sequel a decade later to a movie that didn't get hot reviews at the start, but we'll check them both out anyway. Before we get started, I'm going to be recapping and spoiling both of the stories, so if you haven't seen them and want to check them out, I'd suggest doing that. Now that that's out of the way, The Strangers is a film that really left a mark on me after first watching it. There's something very unsettling about the random act of violence that's portrayed in the first film, not only because of how real the idea of somebody just randomly breaking into your home and murdering you can be. It happens all the time. But this was also 14 years ago that I watched this movie. So let's see if it still holds up to my eyes 14 years after watching it. I just hope I haven't been recommending a bad movie to people since I was 13 years old, because that would be kind of not really embarrassing, but like, yikes.
What you are about to see is inspired by true events. On the night of February 11th, 2005, Kristen McKay and James Hoyt left a friend's wedding reception and returned to the Hoyt family's summer home. The brutal events that took place there are still not entirely known.
I've talked about this in a couple videos in the past. Why did every film that came out in this time period have to start off with some guy or writing at the beginning of the movie talking about how it was inspired or based on true events? What a soulless idea. It's just bull that Hollywood came up with, maybe to get people more invested in their films. After this real-life tie-in, the movie begins where it ends, with two young boys finding a couple's bodies in a home, and we kind of overhear their 911 call talking about finding two dead people. Oh, there's blood everywhere. We then cut to our protagonists, James and Kristen and James, both of whom are heading to a secluded family vacation home. From the very start of the movie, you can tell that there's a divide between the two main characters. Like they've been arguing about something or just broke up. I base this on the fact that you can see Kristen having teary eyes and James just acting really detached. This is compounded even more when they head inside, and you notice the romantic atmosphere inside of the home. Like James had went there before they got there to put rose petals everywhere and candles and such, like it was meant to be a romantic evening. After some distant dialogue between the characters, we go to a flashback where we see James propose to Kristen and she denies him, stating that she isn't ready for marriage. This is probably one of the top 5 worst feelings a guy could feel. We immediately feel sympathy for James. Shortly after the flashback, we see James call his friend or brother, telling him to pick him up in the morning as soon as he can so he can get out of there. The acting here and the way that the actors are portraying this almost wall between them, it really sets the tone for the beginning of the film. And I do like that. Not too long into the night, we get back to how I started the video off. When the characters hear knocking at the door, this interrupts them when they're starting to have a little bit of makeup. I can't say that word, I don't think. They get a little frisky. I think that word's fine. When the loud knock at the door interrupts them.
What is it, like 4 in the morning?
I really love the creepiness of this interaction, down to the way the woman at the door says that she'll see them later. I can't imagine what it would be like to be in a fairly rural home and hear knocking at 3 o'clock in the morning, to be met by that. It's very questionable. What the f are you doing out here, man? Anyway, Kristen tells James that she's ran out of cigarettes. By the way, cigarettes in movies are so weird, unless you have an edgy character. James then offers to go and run to some convenience store somewhere and grab her some cigarettes. This part of the movie kind of is weird to me because you're out in the middle of nowhere. It just seems like a long drive, I guess. Before leaving, James lights a fire in the fireplace and has a bit of a sad boy moment in the front lawn. Then heads out, leaving her alone in this house with no car. Shortly after James leaves Kristen alone, we hear more knocks at the door.
Hello?
Is Tamara home?
You already came by here.
This whole section of the movie is very intense, like edge of your seat kind of intensity and horror. I really, really like the beginning of this movie. It works really well, especially when the woman is home alone. Everything kind of continues to amp up in scariness with knocks all around the house and at the windows and such. Before the smoke alarm starts to go off, turns out they didn't open up the fireplace. I don't know how fireplaces work. I'm assuming maybe there's a little thing that I don't know. But she fixes that, then takes the smoke alarm down. At this point, Kristen's in complete freakout mode and tries to call James, but her cell phone's dead, so she plugs it in, then tries the house phone. She's able to get in contact with him and tell him, hey, get the here now, something bad's going to happen. During this call, though, the telephone line just gets cut suddenly. Not only is the buildup of this movie almost masterfully crafted, but the way that it's shot, it creates a very ominous and anxious atmosphere. Talking about the shots of the film, it leaves for moments like this after the phone disconnects, which is probably one of the scariest moments in 2000s horror, in my opinion. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but I really love it. So us as an audience are able to see this character in the house, meaning that they've somehow found a way in without our characters noticing, and Kristen doesn't realize that it's as bad as it is until she goes to another room and comes back and notices the smoke alarm she took off of the ceiling is now sat neatly on a chair that she used to get up there. Yeah, that's when the actual, like, holy panic starts to kick in. That's not all, though. She also realizes that the cell phone that she just plugged in is just completely missing, which we later see in the fireplace. It continually gets worse from here, too. I really like this moment with the jump scare here. I'm not a big fan of jump scares in movies usually, but the jump scares mixed with the frantic noises around the house and just the panic that you could feel knowing that somebody's got into the house, or the questioning yourself that you have of, you didn't put that there and you just plugged your cell phone in. That jump scare where the door opens, though, knowing that they can unlock the door, that is such a terrifying moment. Made even worse by the fact that inside of your own home, or just a house in general, it's just one of the more comfortable places you have in life, and to know that somebody can just come in at any time, you don't know what these people want. That's why home invasion works so well in horror. It's just that contrast. This movie does a really good job of bringing contrast in. Knowing that she's not safe inside, though, Kristen goes and hides in the bedroom, just kind of in a corner, because really, what do you do? Now she knows there's at least two mother out there. We get a moment down the hallway where we hear walking down the hallway, but it's just James who pops up, which is almost a sigh of relief for the audience and for her. James walking into this has no clue what's been happening, so when his ex-girlfriend tells him, hey, people are trying to kill me, they're in the house, he doesn't know what to believe. It's just like, what? The safety blanket that James provides to us doesn't last very long, though.
She's watching us.
She looks like a ghost.
Also, James is sort of your average horror movie idiot from this point on in the movie. The sympathy the film creates for him as a man in the beginning doesn't work well with how his character acts in the end. There's always going to be sympathy towards the woman of the film because she's a woman and we're going to have these protective, like, kind of ideas or instincts about her in our society. I think that the directors tried to give James that sympathy by giving them this backstory, but he is so dumb, it kind of ruins it. That's really the back half of this film. We'll get into that. James just thinks that the masked people are there to intimidate them or that they want something from them. So after seeing the person outside, he's like, I'm gonna go confront them and grab my phone from the car because of course he left his phone in the car. When he goes out to the car, this is what he finds. Even though his car is completely destroyed, he gets inside and we get a nice little spooky moment. It was from this moment on where the strangers, which is just what I'm going to call them, maybe the killers, their actions start to become very malicious. They already were malicious, but it turns murderous and dangerous from here on. The film also comes back to the seclusion aspect while James is outside alone, and there's shots of the background showing the road, and there's literally no cars or houses anywhere, just a couple dim streetlights. This is compounded more too when James goes inside and says this to Kristen.
What are you thinking?
Since we've been here, I haven't heard a dog bark or a car pass. Nothing. Just us and them.
With the incident outside and with the fact that James finds his phone that was in his car inside without a battery, he's officially scared now too, because he also figures out, hey, how the hell did somebody put my phone in the house? Now that both the characters realize that there's no security for them inside, they come up with a plan to make a run for it to the fucked up car and try to get out of there. The tires are all slashed and it's pretty effed, but that's the plan.
Who is that?
Get out the car.
With escape also no longer an option, it's just survival time now. The two of them are able to run inside safely. While in the house, they look around for an old family gun. James finds it, but he doesn't even know how it works, how to load the shotgun. It's kind of, okay, your family has a shotgun, you don't know how to load it. A little weird. Maybe this was just meant for drama. Nevertheless, they're able to load the shotgun up, and just in time too, because one of the masked people, the man, the wheezing guy, he starts breaking down the front door of the house with an axe, and James shoots through the door at him, not hitting him, of course, because in horror films, the protagonists with guns are just as bad at aiming as bad guys in action films. The bad guy clears off after being shot at, and with a few moments of, at least, sort of safety, the two characters come up with a plan to just sort of wait out the night, especially now that they figured out how to use this gun. The plan is pretty though. What they plan on doing is just hiding in the bedroom with the shotgun. I think what you should do in this situation, if you just found a shotgun, it's a 12 gauge shotgun, you should become the predator, not the prey now. They have melee weapons, a knife, an axe. You have a shotgun, brother. I'd be going out and trying to shoot these bastards dead. What do? They hide. I mean, even if I just had birdshot, I'd try to hit them with it and then grab the top of the shotgun and smack them with the... I'd these people up. I'm gonna hang you from the rafters. You're kid. No, they hide in the bedroom. Dumb. This, of course, doesn't work out, who would have thought. It's also the part of the film that I really hate. The movie goes from this really intense home invasion horror film, with this intense build-up and okay writing for the characters due to the drama that they have between the two, and turns into a pretty bad slasher film. I think that what makes a good slasher film compared to a bad slasher film is not necessarily the characters' actions. The characters' actions in this movie are, I was going to say, really dumb. But it's how you make the kills happen in slasher films. It's not the 1980s or 70s anymore. You can't just have people getting slashed up and create horror out of that. You kind of have to make it a fun ordeal, as weird as that sounds to people who are not horror movie nerds. The movie went from, oh, what the hell's going to happen next, to, I just hope the characters die already. Anyway, Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia shows up. He's James's brother. I don't know his name in the movie. It might be Dennis for all I know. He's the guy that James called for a ride. He got there early. But this has us as the audience thinking, oh wow, sweet, there's another person there to help them or possibly save them. But what happens instead is Dennis walks through the house all quiet like, and we see the dude with the axe behind him, and you're like, oh, he's gonna get slashed in the back. But then you notice how quietly he's walking around, not saying, James, Kristen, is anyone home? No, just lurking, man. When he rounds the corner, he gets shot in the skull by his brother. James, realizing he's an absolute moron for shooting his own brother, has a freak out, him and Kristen both, really. They run around. Running wouldn't really be a good description of it. They meander about, crying and pissing their pants. It's really listless and like, oh no, I killed my brother, what are we gonna do? Oh, let's walk room to room being sad and loud and slow. Oh, there's like 3 killers that want to murder us, but I just killed my brother. I hate it. The worst I've seen in a minute. I don't know why the killers didn't just come in and slash him up there. It would have made total sense. I guess they like to play games with their victims. As if they're not gonna die anyway. They're dead. I guess they get off on it. I don't know. I'm not a serial killer. I don't get off on hurting people or scaring them. So, I don't know. I just figured they have a gun. It's probably best to go after them right now. If it weren't for how much I was enjoying this first half of the film, I don't know if I would have hated the second half as much as I did, or if I would have been as harsh on it. After meandering about, James comes up with the worst plan of the movie, and that is for him and Kristen to split up.
I'm gonna go outside. I want you to hide somewhere.
What are you talking about?
There's an old radio out in the barn. I'm gonna try and call for help. I don't know what else to do.
James is like, oh, hey, Kristen, there's this old ham radio in the shed that nobody's used for like 78 years. I'm gonna go see if it works to get in contact with the police. Like I said, you should be using this gun, and you just killed your brother. You're pretty good at killing people. Kill the bad guys. No. They decide to split up. James runs outside. I'm going to sum up the end of this movie, by the way. This is the most annoyingly slow, boring movie at the end of this. Terrible. We're going to talk about why. James goes outside to go to this radio. Of course, he gets caught really quick and gets up. It takes like maybe 3 minutes, and he's done for. Dunzo. You're out of here, bud. We don't see him till the end of the movie. And then it's like Kristen sitting inside all alone without a weapon. They don't even think of an idea of like, hey, maybe we should get Kristen a weapon. No, that's not even a thought. Okay, Kristen, after meandering about inside because she hears some noises, runs outside, but she does it in a very stupid way, and this happens. I think holding out in the house, like Home Alone style, building stupid Kevin McAllister or whatever his name is, I can't think of the name of the kid in Home Alone, traps, put a paint bucket up. It would have been so much better than what they do. So after rankle up, Kristen hides about for way too long. I ended up going back and looking. It was like 26 minutes of Kristen just sneaking around. You know she's gonna get caught. You know she's gonna die. And not only do you know just from guessing because you've seen horror films, no, they show you in the beginning of the film. She goes to the shed, waits out in there, tries to use the radio. Of course it doesn't work. We get some spooks there, but they're not really scary. You're just hoping Kristen dies because this is taking so long. It's so boring. She then goes inside somehow. She's so loud too. How is this working? She goes inside and hides in a closet. The wheezing go. I hate it so bad. She gets caught, it. James gets brought in. Then we get the lamest kills in a slasher movie, because this is what this movie's turned into. It went from an amazing film to just dog ass. They just kind of stab them. They take turns stabbing them slowly. Yeah, there's 1,000 ways you could have taken this film, and you went with the worst one. I know I just summed up 20 minutes, pretty angry, in like a couple minutes, but God, did they ruin this film in the second half. It wasn't like the last act. The last act was The second act was stupid, but it can work. But the first, it was just so good and creepy. I don't get that scared of horror films. And after watching it again, I was like, oh, this is intense. When you have a moment and you're like, heart drops, you're like, oh, that happened. And then it was just butt. James and Kristen get tied up and killed, as I said. But they're asking the killers questions. They're like, why are you doing this? And they're like, oh, because you were home. Leaning into that whole, it could be anyone, it could be you that this could happen to, which I love about this movie. I loved it so much. That horror that kind of stays with you. Oh, is somebody going to come into my house and try to kill me? But after watching it this time, it doesn't work. The kids from the beginning on their bikes, they talk to the killers and interact with them before going to the house and finding the bodies. But we do get one interesting line, which kind of left in a sequel or a tie-in. I think it was more meant for horror purposes.
It'll be easier next time.
The writing is not entirely bad for this movie, so I don't understand how the second half went as poorly as it did. That was The Strangers, though. Boy, oh boy, I do not remember this movie being a tale of two halves, but it was, you could divide it to the minute of when this movie falls apart. I find that really interesting. I do not know how I do not remember that. Did not remember that. The building of fear and intensity and just thrill that the first half offers, taking a nosedive. And then I could make that joke about that 9/11 plane. I can't, the Flight 93, but that's kind of offensive. So unless you like to watch characters run about, breathing really loudly and bumping into making noises, you're like, oh no, they're gonna get killed, but you already know they're gonna get killed. If you like that kind of stuff, you'll love this movie. The payoff is not there. It's not like you're gonna see this character just get cut in half in a really dumb way where you're like, oh, that's so stupid. Fun. Guts everywhere, just over the top dumb shit that slasher films can be great with. You're not getting any of that in this movie. All that great build-up and it just trips on its own feet, much like Kristen did. Yuck. I don't know how to rate this movie because I liked the first half so much. I think it still holds up for nostalgia. That moment with that guy in the background's still pretty good. I remember that pretty well. I'll give it like a 5.5 out of 10. If it would have held up all the way through, this movie could probably be like a 7 or an 8. But no, that second half, man. Honestly, the first half is like a what? An 8 to me? And then the second half is like a 1. Thrill ride from beginning to middle. That's the perfect summary of that movie. This leaves us with The Strangers 2. I'm just going to be calling it that. The Strangers Pray at Night. Is there meant to be a comma there? The Strangers Pray at Night. Or The Strangers at Night Pray. Or is the pray meant to be there at night? I don't like the title. Should have just been called The Strangers 2. We'll call it that anyway for the sake of brevity. Before watching this movie, I did have a faint memory I could have watched it. I wasn't sure, and after watching it, I don't know if I did or not still. The second film has a 5.2 on IMDb, compared to the first movie's 6.1, so I was expecting a bit of a downgrade, which isn't good after that second half. You can't be disappointed by what you don't believe in, though, so I kept my expectations low. As I said earlier, The Strangers 2 came out in 2018, a full decade after the first film. The movie starts off with the masked killers from the first one, still wearing the same masks. I don't know if this movie is canonically meant to take place 10 years after the first one, like these people have been going around killing a bunch of people, or not. They were using smartphones, but touchscreen phones were out in like 2009, I think. When did the first iPhone come out? Like 2007? Could have been. Anyway, these guys are rocking up in their old pickup from the first movie that they used as a weapon to crash into the back of James's car. Get ready, they use it as a weapon a lot in this movie. We're going to be talking about it. They show up to this random trailer house, mobile home, with this old couple where they do the same knock at the door. Is Tamara home? And then they kill them. It's a pretty silly intro. We're then off to meet a very boring, run-of-the-mill suburban family. They're all preparing to go on a family vacation. The family consists of this redheaded mom. She played in Mad Men. She has those big boobs. I don't know what her name is. I forgot. Then we get boring dad. Don't know this actor. He looks familiar. Outstanding older brother, who was like a sports player and grades or A's, going to college. And then our rebel daughter who smokes cigarettes and is going to be shipped off to boarding school. She's a bad kid. The way that they explain she's a bad kid in the movie, though, is not quite that bad. Like, she's getting bad grades and goes out and drinks with her friends sometimes. That's really rebellious. There are kids out doing fentanyl and having children. I guess in suburbia, she's probably the talk of their shitty town. Anyhow, they all pack up to them into the minivan, and we get the best, most brilliant dialogue in the entirety of the two films. I was going to say series, but it's not really a series.
Dear Queef.
Whoa!
What's Queef?
That is one hell of an insult. In middle school, I remember pretty vividly that we would call people queefs, but it was also like 2008 and we were children. This guy's like 17 years old and it's 2018. Bizarre. After a long road trip that we get a lot of drone footage from, they arrived to a mobile home park for their vacation, which is... I didn't know people took vacations to places like this. This is kind of explained later when we learn that I think the old couple from the beginning were their aunt and uncle and they own the trailer park. So the strangers came in and killed the aunt and uncle and heard a voicemail left on a phone. What do they call those things? Answering machine. Oh, we're gonna be there tonight. So I guess they hung out and waited for them. This is confirmed when, shortly after getting to their little trailer they'll be spending the weekend, or however long at, they get a knock at the door where the same blonde woman comes up, saying, "You guessed it."
Remember when we went camping in the Rockies?
Well, that's exactly what I was referring to.
Can I help you?
Is Tamara home?
I think you have the wrong trailer.
Okay.
Is Tamara home? Getting pretty stale at this point. This is a callback, far less effective at this point. I would not call anything about this movie scary, which is crazy because the first half of the first film is pretty scary. After the knock at the door, the family has some really boring dialogue, mostly centered around the daughter going to boarding school. She gets pissy and runs off and leaves. The dad and the mom send the brother out to go look for her. While the brother's out looking for the daughter, we get more attempts at scary happening with the repeat of the first film. The girl comes and knocks again and asks and stares at them. The first real moments of tension, or moment of tension, after the brother finds the sister and they head over to their aunt and uncle's cat trailer. Almost said cabin. No, this is a much more Baroque version of that. They find the dead bodies of their aunt and uncle. They, of course, freak the out and run. Their parents were like, oh, this woman is weird, so they also go looking for their children. They run into each other, and this happens.
Guys, what the hell is going on?
Uncle Marvin, Aunt Cheryl are all cut up and there's blood everywhere.
Okay, this is some kind of a joke.
It's not some kind of a joke. I swear I would not joke about this.
Okay, where was this? Where did you see this?
In one of the trailers. One of the trailers was open and we went inside. I'm not messing with you, I swear.
Take Kinsey back to the trailer. Call the police. And lock the door, okay?
The dad has a brilliant idea. Hey, son, why don't you take me to this? Because maybe he doesn't believe that they found the dead bodies. I mean, the daughter's a real prankster, eh? She's getting sent off to boarding school. The mom and the daughter go back to their trailer, and the dad and the son go and to look at the dead bodies for some reason. I still can't explain it. After getting back to the trailer, the mom and the daughter have a realization that things are pretty bad. When getting there, they see all their phones are on the counter smashed up.
What do you want? Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me? I need to report a murder.
This is where the movie decides that it is entirely a slasher film. Instead of teaming up and fighting off this assailant, knives are not that scary when there are two of you. To grab her by the neck and murder her, no, they run into the bathroom. I think that if you tied one of my arms behind my back and I patched one of my eyes and I had to fight for my life, I would that woman up. Because unless you get stabbed in the chest or in the neck, you're not gonna die yet. They hide in the bathroom and lock the door.
I got it! I'm gonna lift you up. Okay. No!
Now, just like with my thought about why would you run from this bitch, you're in close contact with her in a small room, making that knife a little less effective. You still don't want to get jabbed in the neck. They're trying to get through this hole in the roof. I guess there's windows, I don't know what the call it in bathrooms, in the ceiling. They're not able to pull themselves up and get onto the roof. I figure if you're in a life or death situation, 9 out of 10 people would be able to pull themselves up and out of this hole, unless you're like 400 pounds. The daughter fumbles about and is just barely able to get out, and we see the mom just get stabbed to death. Doesn't even attempt to protect herself. She doesn't push her neck down like this so she doesn't get stabbed. Well, like, put her shoulders up and try to grab this bitch. None of that. It's just ah, and we'll run into the wall and get stabbed in the back kind of thing. The daughter makes it out though and runs away, and we go back to the father and son. The dad gets to see firsthand the dead aunt and uncle, and he's like, oh shit! Oh, I know you just told me that they were dead, but oh my god, they're dead! He then has a stupid question for the son. He's like, hey bud, call the cops, you got your phone on you. When explicitly earlier in the film, he's like, hey guys, we're on vacation. We could use a little family time. Why don't you give me your phones? We don't need to be using them. And then him and his wife don't grab their phones before leaving, and it's a silly film.
Dad.
So with the father and son being attacked in the trailer by a masked Axeman, they find this revolver and the dad's able to threaten him, and I guess he runs off, leaving a moment for them to run out and escape and run back to their trailer. When they arrive back, they learn that the mother's dead, and we get a long scene where they're both freaking out. There's this really annoying effect that's used here where they're in the middle of their freak out, and for some reason they add this high-pitched noise to drone out the sound of it. I don't know what they were trying to add with this, but I didn't like it. They're able to gather themselves after a few minutes, where they then come up with a getaway plan to go find their daughter since she's not dead inside there. They hop in the van and start driving off until we get one of my favorite scenes. I really, really like this scene. Somehow this cinder block toss works and causes the silliest wreck in a movie I've ever seen to happen. The film then cuts back to the daughter, who is running from the strangers, the killers, and we get the truck back into the mix, starting to be used as a weapon. None of this makes sense. I try not to think about horror films in a super logical way, but let me pick this apart for a minute. You're a serial killer, and you're hunting down some victims. Why would you use your truck as a weapon? 1. The physical evidence left on your truck after you hit something with it is very damning and very hard to clean off, not including the actual damage that is left on the body of your truck. 2. You're leaving tire tracks everywhere while driving off-road. There's probably not a lot of these weird 1993 GMC trucks on the road today. So when the police find all these tire tracks next to blood, they're gonna be like, okay, well, we know what make of truck killed this person. 3, it's your getaway vehicle. It's how you're getting out. Why are you gonna fuck it up? I don't get it. Just use a knife, man. She's a girl. Chase her down. This is dumb. With the superhero shit this guy's able to do later, I mean, it's a scare tactic. After the subpar slasher sequence, truck sequence, can you call a movie a slasher film if it's just a car going around killing people? That sounds more like an incel attack than anything else. I don't know if I can put that in because that was a real thing in Toronto. We get to see the aftermath of the cinder block crash, where the dad got impaled by a wooden beam from the porch of this trailer through the stomach. This just goes on to prove that the cinder block is the most effective weapon in the entire film. I think that the police should probably start chucking cinder blocks at criminals' cars rather than using spike strips. It's probably safer for the officer, and after seeing this, it is 100 times more effective. Since the dad has a hole through his stomach, I don't think I can show you. There's blood. He tells the son, like, hey son, I'm real proud of you. You're the best son a father could ask for. I'm gonna give you this pistol. Go save your sister for me, son. Before the boy's hero arc, we see the masked guy get into the truck with the dad, and he just turns on some copyright music and sits next to him for, I swear to God, 3 minutes. It felt like 2 hours, but it was probably 3 or 4 minutes of him just looking at the dad with his mask on, while the dad's just like, what do you want from me? Ah! Screaming and asking him questions. It's very, 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 very annoying. Goes on for way too long. Until we get the lamest kill. The guy's already gonna die, but he grabs an ice pick out of nowhere and just stabs him really gently in the neck with it. Anyway, we head to our hero brother, who runs around the trailer park for a while before he finds his sister, who gets baited into the back of this trailer by a noise. There's killers out there, but she followed it. Real horror movie stuff. She gets stabbed in the leg, but the brother's able to stop the killer by aiming a gun at her and being like, "I'll shoot you, bitch. I'll kill you." He never does it though, because he's a pussy. I don't know why this person's trying to kill you guys and you don't just shoot her. The sister's even like, "What are you, some kind of shoot her?" He doesn't do it. He's just run off.
It's okay. Calm down.
After their little hiding spot that they were far too loud inside of gets hit by a truck. By the way, you're using your escape vehicle to smash into the side of a trailer again. What the f are you doing? The van that you could have stolen from them to escape in, you cinder blocked. Maybe they have another car hidden and stashed away and they're just going to use this thing and tear it up and leave it there with all the physical evidence left inside. The brother hides the sister underneath a trailer. He decides it's the best idea to run to the office of this trailer park to use the phone to try to contact the police. Shortly after taking this woman out with a golf club, he finally decides to kill one of them. Finally. Probably the most brutal scene. No, there's another one. But it is very effective. He just kind of stabs her in the chest multiple times with like blood spraying up in his face. It's a pretty rewarding kill, especially since they're trying to kill him. I just wish they didn't make all the kills that the protagonists get on the antagonists so rewarding, with a nice climax to them. Like the killers just stab a guy with an ice pack pick in the neck real gently too. It's like, during the little revenge murder, the axe guy shows up. This time he's not wheezing anymore like he was in the first film. Maybe he just had pneumonia in the first movie. They get into a tussle which ends in them falling into the pool, where we get a very long pool fight for a knife. The axe guy ends up winning and stabbing the brother in the back. I don't get how you went from wheezing in the last movie to Michael Phelpsing it out in the pool like a UFC fighter with a knife and then getting out perfectly fine. The fight between the brother and him was kind of interesting, but we're left with the brother floating around in a pool of his own blood inside of a pool. So stupid. And the sister just happens to know exactly where he's at, even though this pool seems like it's pretty far away from the office. She's like, "Hey bud, don't worry," and pulls him out of the pool with her up gimpy leg and leaves him there, and now it's her time to be a hero. She runs around for a while until this happens.
Whoa. Okay, come here. Okay, calm down. Hey, calm down. Okay, it's okay.
Now, what do you think happens to the cop in a horror movie? A, he gets the kids out of their safe. B, he shoots the killers and gets them out of their safe. C, he's one of the killers too. Or D, they get hit with a cinder block while driving away. None of that. The last one was what I was hoping would happen, but instead he gets killed really quickly by the chick who walks up behind him and slashes his throat. It's the laziest way to do it. I thought the cinder block would have been the best way to do it. We've seen how badass these cinder blocks are, although it is the little blonde doll-faced chick and she probably can't pick up a cinder block. She's so tiny, which is why they should have teamed up and killed her earlier. This leaves the girl to get into the cop car, but the keys are on the dead cop. We get one of the best moments of the movie. I love moments like this. I absolutely adore shotgun kills in movies. They are so rewarding. Watching somebody get blasted with a shotgun is one of the silliest ways somebody can die in a horror movie. Just how overdone it is. Just your chest is gone. After shooting the killer, we get a moment where she takes the mask off of her and she just looks like a normal chick, and she kind of asks her a few questions for a minute, like, "Why are you trying to kill us?" "'Cause it's fun." It's dumb.
Why are you doing this? Why not?
She just ends up shooting her in the head. Yeah. I don't know why the good people get such good kills, but watching this bitch who's been stabbing people get shot in the skull with a shotgun was pretty cool. Top movie moment of the last probably few movies I've seen. I liked it. The girl then tries to drive off with the cop car, but wait, the truck is back. This goes on for way too long. The truck just keeps smashing into the cop truck that the girl's inside of. It's really stupid. I hate it. It's so dumb. It's very, very, very dumb. The girl, of course, is inside of a truck, so she just gets out of the truck, and the guy keeps ramming the truck while she's not in there. Very obviously see this. She goes around, and you know, she smoked cigarettes earlier. She sees gas pouring out, because gas tanks are usually in the back of a car. Gets her little lighter out, Zippo, and throws it on the ground and lights the cars on fire, okay? And you're like, oh, this is over now. The guy's being burnt to death, and he's the last one. She gimps and limps away from this burning truck in the dumbest scene imaginable, when the truck suddenly stops, and you're like, okay, it's over now, right? It's not over. He gets out of the truck for some reason, instead of running her over, and starts walking her down with an axe, where he falls over and dies, and you're like, oh shit, it's over, right? She goes and finds this family who's driving alongside the road. They have a pickup truck for some reason. She hops in the back. But wait, it's not over yet. The guy pops up and swings an axe at her. He misses, and she hits him in the head with a baseball bat. And we get this dumb 3D effect that was pretty visceral of her killing him. And it's over. Movie then shows them at the hospital 2 weeks later with the brother. But wait, it's not over! I do not know what that ending was supposed to mean with the noises that were happening at the hospital. Could it be PTSD of the characters? I don't think that the movie would try to aim for something that intelligent. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I liked the fake outs, I guess. They were dumb. That was kind of funny. There was long breaks in between them too, and you're like, oh, it's finally fucking over. Oh no. Oh, it's finally over. No. The Strangers Prey at Night. The Strangers 2. It's a dumb slasher movie. Didn't expect it to be a slasher movie after the first film. I think it did a lot better than the first movie in several ways, since it wasn't centered around the killers being the killers of the movie. It was more so focused on the brother and sister killing them all. The kills were really, really visceral and just well shot. Stabbing that one chick in the chest over and over again. I don't really know what to think about the movie. It was just kind of a dumb slasher film. I figured they would have learned off the first film and the reviews that got to maybe try to remake that first movie's first half, but nah. The action and slasher aspect of this movie is so much better than the first films, but I don't really like slasher movies, so this movie isn't really for me. There most definitely should not have been a Strangers 2. There's no reason that first movie should have spawned a franchise. By the way, we're going to be getting 3 new films in 2024 on of The Strangers, which is partially why I made this video. I was thinking about rewatching the first movie again, and then on IMDb I saw that there were 3 new films being made, and I was like, oh, might as well cover these. I don't think I'll even give those a second of my day. They're probably not worth watching, unless somehow the series is revised and it's brilliant. Anyway, I think I'll give this second movie like a 2 out of 10. It's really not my type of horror film, pretty boring, the characters suck, and having just watched that new Thanksgiving slasher film by Eli Roth, that movie was fun and funny. This movie was none of those things. Made me realize how bad this was. With my low expectations, I didn't completely hate it though. I'm never gonna watch either of them again. I am saddened that the first film was as bad as it was on this viewing. I kind of wish I never watched it again so I could have lived in my own little world as if it was a good horror film that scared the shit out of me when I was younger. It does not live up to that though. Anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. I'm probably going to be doing a movie I like because I'm tired of watching movies I don't like. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a like, sub to the channel, all that good stuff. You want to see me talk about anything in the future though, drop some ideas down below. That takes half the process out of my hands. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Later.